AITA for exposing her affair at our baby's gender reveal party? Hi Reddit. I'm not sure how to even begin writing this. My hands are shaking a little, just hovering over the keyboard. Because once I type this all out, it'll feel real. It'll feel permanent. And maybe that's what I need. Maybe I need it to stop living in my head and instead live here. Out in the open, raw, ugly, painful, and real. So here goes. I'm a 31-year-old guy. I've been married to my wife, Emily, not her real name, but for the sake of the story, for just over 3 years. But we've been together for 6. We met at a work conference, one of those boring, beige-carpeted networking events where the coffee tastes like disappointment and everyone's wearing fake smiles. I remember seeing her standing at a snack table, trying to pry the lid off a too fancy water bottle, and she looked up at me and smiled. Not one of those forced professional smiles. No, this one reached her eyes. It was the kind of smile you only give to someone you already feel safe with. And yet, we hadn't even spoken a word. I offered her my bottle opener, and she made a joke about not being able to survive in the wild. We talked for maybe 20 minutes before getting pulled back into the monotony of the event, but I couldn't stop thinking about her after that. 2 weeks later, we were going out for drinks. 2 months after that, we were exclusive. And somewhere in the middle of those years, I really, truly believed I had found the person I'd grow old with. You know, the kind of love story they write novels about? The kind that's messy but passionate, wild but safe? That's what we had. Or what I thought we had. Looking back, I don't know if I was delusional, naive, or just hopelessly in love. Maybe all three. Because now, everything I thought I knew has shattered. And it all started unraveling about 2 months ago. Let me walk you through it. Emily and I had been talking about starting a family for a while. Not seriously at first, more like casual daydreams. You know, if we had a daughter, I bet she'd have your nose kind of talk. But then last year, we made the decision. I remember the night we sat on our balcony, a half-empty bottle of wine between us, the city lights painting her skin in gold and lavender. She looked at me and said, "I think I'm ready." So we tried. For months. The anticipation, the negative tests, the tears, the late-night pep talks. It all became part of our rhythm. And then, one morning in late June, she walked into the kitchen holding a white stick, her hands trembling. 2 pink lines. I dropped my coffee mug. Literally. It shattered across the tile floor and neither of us cared. We were laughing, crying, hugging. We were going to be parents. God, I wish I could hold on to just that version of the memory. The joy, the hope, before everything went black. Emily's parents were ecstatic when we told them. They immediately offered to host the gender reveal party. Her mom went full Pinterest mode, color-coded balloons, customized cookies, confetti cannons. We scheduled it for the second weekend of July at their place. It was going to be beautiful, and for a while things felt perfect, almost too perfect. That's when I started noticing the cracks. First, it was little things. Emily started coming home a bit later than usual. She'd brush it off with excuses that sounded believable. Meetings ran long, traffic was bad. She stopped for groceries. Nothing crazy, but there was this subtle shift in her energy. She was distant. Then came the phone stuff. She'd always been casual with her phone. Left it on the couch. Let me use it to change the music or check the weather. But suddenly, she was guarding it like it held nuclear codes. Always face down. Notifications silenced. One time I asked to use it to Google something, and she actually flinched, like physically recoiled, then quickly said, "I'll do it." That was new. And then there were the passwords. She changed the lock screen code, changed her laptop password. When I asked why, she gave a weak excuse about just updating things. My gut started whispering things I didn't want to hear, but I wasn't ready to listen. Not yet. The breaking point came one Thursday night. I came home late from work. Emily was already asleep on the couch, curled up in one of my old hoodies. The TV still on. Her phone was on the coffee table, unlocked. I don't know what possessed me to do it. I'm not a snoop. I've never gone through her stuff. But something about that moment felt heavy, like the air itself was telling me, look. So I did. I picked it up and tapped on her messages. There was a conversation pinned at the top. A name I didn't recognize, Liam. My chest tightened. I clicked. The messages weren't just flirty. They weren't just crossing a line. They were explicit. I scrolled and scrolled and scrolled. My heart was thudding in my ears. I felt like I was outside of my body. Like this wasn't happening to me. This was someone else's nightmare. She said things to this guy. Things I didn't even know she thought. She described what they did. How he made her feel. How she never felt this alive until she met him. She told him she wished she'd met him first. That she dreamed about running away with him. That she wasn't sure if the baby was mine. I dropped the phone. Literally. It thudded against the carpet like a gunshot. And then I just sat there, staring at her. My wife. The woman I planned to grow old with. The mother of my unborn child. Sleeping peacefully, like nothing was wrong. Like she hadn't just obliterated our marriage behind my back. I didn't wake her. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't even move for a solid hour. I just sat there, my mind spinning in 1,000 directions, replaying every moment, every kiss, every laugh we ever shared, now twisted by the knowledge that it was all a lie, or at least tainted. What hurt the most wasn't even the sex. It was the words, the intimacy, the way she described feeling free with him, like I was some ball and chain holding her back, like our life was just a prison she needed to escape. I thought about the baby. My heart clenched. Was it mine? Could I even ask that? Would I want to know the truth if it wasn't? It was like I had been shoved into an alternate timeline, a version of reality where everything looked the same on the outside. The house, the photos, the baby bump, but nothing was real underneath. It was all rotten. I barely slept that night. I didn't confront her immediately. Part of me wanted to. God. I wanted to scream and cry and throw her phone against the wall and demand answers. But another part of me, I don't know, needed time. Time to breathe, to think, to figure out what came next. I started gathering evidence. Screenshots, dates. I even found a shared Google Calendar entry labeled lunchtime meetings, which matched several of the messages she had sent to Liam about sneaking out to his car during work hours. I was spiraling. Every "I'm working late" excuse replayed in my head like a horror reel. I even started questioning our wedding day. Was she thinking about someone else while saying, "I do"? Had this been going on longer than I realized? But here's where things get really messed up. Even after all of that, after the betrayal, the doubt, the sheer devastation, I still looked at her and felt love, twisted, broken, but it was there. This was the woman I had built a life with. The woman carrying what might be my child. How do you just turn that off? You don't. And so I did something insane. I kept pretending. We went ahead with the gender reveal party. Yes, you read that right. 3 weeks after discovering her affair, I stood beside her at her parents' house, holding a confetti cannon and smiling for pictures while everyone clapped and cheered. I held her hand. I rubbed her belly. I played the perfect husband. And all the while I was dying inside, because I knew, but she didn't know I knew. Yet, if you haven't read part 1, go back and read that first, because nothing I'm about to say will make any sense unless you've heard how my world was ripped out from under me. Quick recap. I, 31M, had been married to my wife Emily, 29F, for 3 years, together for 6. We had what I thought was a beautiful marriage, full of trust, love, late-night talks, belly laughs, inside jokes, and all the little moments that convince you've found your person. Then she got pregnant. We were ecstatic. And then I found out she was cheating. Not had a flirty conversation at work, kind of cheating. I'm talking full-blown, soul-splitting, emotionally intimate and physically graphic affair with a coworker named Liam. I found the texts. I read every word, and I couldn't unknow what I knew. But instead of storming out, screaming at her, or throwing her stuff out onto the front lawn like you see in the movies, I did something different. I got strategic. People think that when you find out your partner cheated, there's only one valid response: rage. fury, chaos. But sometimes silence is scarier. Stillness is deadlier. Because when you're quiet, they don't know what's coming. The day after I found the messages, I started building my case like a damn lawyer. Every time she texted him, I took a screenshot. Every voice memo, photo, emoji, calendar event, saved and backed up to a hidden drive. I got a digital record of her work schedule and Liam's. Surprise, surprise, every single late night at the office lined up with his. Like clockwork. She wasn't even being smart about it. There were receipts everywhere. Hotel bookings on a shared credit card she thought I never checked. Ride-share pickups from locations near his apartment. Venmo charges for coffee at 10 p.m. on a Wednesday. It was all there. She was cheating, and she was careless. But I wasn't. The party was supposed to be a joyful celebration. Her parents were pulling out all the stops, rented outdoor tents, a custom balloon arch, blue and pink everything. Emily was in full nesting mode, buzzing around our kitchen like a 1950s housewife high on sugar and baby hormones. She was decorating cupcakes when I walked in. She was humming, and for a second, just a split second, I saw the version of her I fell in love with. The carefree girl who couldn't open a water bottle at a conference and made a joke about not surviving the apocalypse. She looked over her shoulder at me and smiled. "You excited for tomorrow?" she asked, piping little swirls of frosting like it was the most important thing in the world. I swallowed the lump in my throat and said, "More than you know," because in that moment, I'd made a decision. I wasn't going to stay quiet, but I wasn't going to yell either. I was going to put on a show. That evening, I made 3 phone calls. First was to her sister, Alyssa. She's younger than Emily by about 3 years, fiercely loyal, and sharper than a tack. We've always gotten along, though she's always been closer with Emily than with me. I told her I had something important planned after the gender reveal, and I needed her help filming it. "Filming what?" she asked. "You'll see," I said. "Just make sure your phone's charged." She didn't ask many questions, but I could hear the tension in her voice. She knew something was off. Next was my brother, Dan. He's the kind of guy who can't keep a secret to save his life, but when I told him I needed this to be airtight, he got serious. "Are you telling me you're about to drop a bomb at your own kid's gender reveal?" he asked. "I'm telling you the bomb's already been dropped. I'm just making sure everyone sees the crater." His laugh was low. "All right, I'm in." The last person I called was Emily's best friend, Paige. That one was tricky. See, Paige and I were never exactly close. She was always one of those ride-or-die besties who would blindly defend Emily no matter what. But this time, I needed her. She would be standing right next to Emily at the party. I needed her reaction. I needed authenticity. So I told her half the truth. I said I had discovered something important and needed to confront Emily about it publicly. I said it would all make sense soon, and that I just wanted her to be ready, phone in hand, for a special surprise after the reveal. She hesitated, but she agreed, and with that, the stage was set. It was a beautiful day, too beautiful almost, like the universe had no idea what was about to happen. The backyard was a pastel dream, streamers everywhere, balloons tied to every chair, tables loaded with pink lemonade, iced tea, cucumber sandwiches, cake pops, and mini quiches. A DJ in the corner played cheerful acoustic covers of pop songs. Emily was glowing. Literally, that second trimester glow was hitting hard. She wore a white lace maternity dress with a pink and blue sash that said, "Mommy to be." Her hair was curled, her cheeks flushed, and she looked genuinely, blissfully happy. Sickeningly happy. People started arriving, cousins, co-workers, high school friends. I floated through the crowd like a ghost, hugging people, shaking hands, smiling politely, all while feeling like I was about to detonate. But I kept it cool, because the best lies are the ones that look like love. Around 3 p.m., we gathered everyone near the big white banner that said, "He or she, what will baby be?" Emily and I stood in front of a giant black balloon filled with colored confetti. Everyone had their phones out, cheering, smiling. "All right," the DJ called out. "On the count of 3, we popped the balloon. Pink confetti exploded everywhere. People screamed. Applause. Cheers. Someone behind us shouted, "It's a girl!" Emily was crying. I wrapped my arms around her, kissed her temple, smiled for the camera. It was perfect. Picture perfect. And then, it wasn't. I stepped forward, microphone in hand. "Thank you all for coming," I said, my voice calm and steady. "Emily and I are thrilled to welcome a baby girl into our lives. We're so grateful to have all of you here to celebrate this moment with us." People clapped again. Cameras flashed. "But before we continue, I actually have one more surprise," I said, raising a small envelope in my hand. "Something I've been working on for the past few weeks." Emily tilted her head, confused. "What is it?" she asked, still smiling, still wiping away tears. It's kind of a tribute, a little project, a highlight reel of sorts." I nodded to my brother, who connected his phone to the Bluetooth speaker. "Dan, play the video." And just like that, the party died. The screen of the mounted TV lit up. The title card appeared. "Loyalty, a retrospective." Soft piano music played underneath. At first, it looked like a slideshow of Emily and me. Photos from our dating years, our wedding, vacations, the pregnancy announcement. And then the tone shifted. The music stopped. And the next image was a screenshot. A text message from Liam. "God, you feel so much better than him. I wish we didn't have to sneak around." Another screenshot. "Emily, I hate going home to him after you. Feels so fake." The crowd was dead silent. Another one. "I think there's a chance the baby is yours. I haven't told him yet." Gasped. Murmurs. A few people stepped back. Emily was frozen, mouth slightly open, eyes darting to me, then the screen, then the crowd. What is this?" she whispered. I didn't answer. The video kept going, timestamp messages, location data, photos of her entering Liam's apartment, copies of hotel receipts. It was a digital dissection of her betrayal. I watched her break in real time. Tears streamed down her face. Her sister dropped her phone. Paige was shaking. My brother just stared at the screen, jaw clenched. And then, finally, the screen faded to black. One final message appeared. "Loyalty isn't what you say. It's what you do." And with that, I turned off the mic. No words, no screams, just silence. People didn't know what to do. Some left immediately. Others stood frozen in place, trying to process what they'd just seen. Emily was sobbing now, full body heaves, mascara running down her face like ink. She stumbled toward me. Please, I can explain." I shook my head. "Don't. You already did. I read everything. I didn't mean for it to happen," she cried, clutching my arm. I didn't know how to stop." Pulled away. "You made your choice. I'm just making mine." And I walked, right out of that perfect pastel party. Out of the house. Out of the marriage. The backyard was still echoing with celebration. People clapped. Some cheered. Emily's mom had tears in her eyes. Her sister was bouncing on her heels, filming everything. Emily turned to me, eyes shining, and kissed my cheek. "This is the happiest day of my life," she said. And I looked at her, really looked at her. This woman, this liar, this master of deception who had not only betrayed me but made me doubt the most sacred experience of our lives, the creation of a family. I smiled, then gently took the mic from the DJ stand. I looked around the crowd. Every face turned to me, expecting a sweet speech, a thank you, maybe even a marriage proposal level emotional moment. Instead, I said, "First of all, thank you all for coming. Emily and I are expecting a beautiful baby girl." There was a pause, a warm little chuckle from the crowd. "But before we welcome her into the world, I want to make sure we build this family on honesty and trust." My voice didn't shake, but Emily did. I felt her body stiffen beside me. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw her glance up at me. And in that one instant, she knew. She knew. I continued, "Unfortunately, that's not what I've had these past few months. What I've had is betrayal. The laughter stopped. The clapping halted. All I could hear now was the creak of a chair and the sound of my own heartbeat. I turned slightly to face her. Emily has been having an affair with a coworker named Liam. I've known for 3 weeks. I have the messages, the photos, the receipts. And I didn't say anything because I wanted you all to see what betrayal looks like behind a smile. Gasps rippled through the backyard like a wave crashing on concrete. A few people dropped their drinks. One guy literally said, "No F *** and way." ***. Emily stood frozen. Her mouth opened, then closed again. I could feel her world tilting beneath her feet. She reached for the mic, maybe to stop me, maybe to deny it. I don't know. But I stepped back before she could say a word. I pulled a small flash drive from my pocket. "This," I said, holding it up, "has everything. Screenshots, dates, messages, conversations, all of it. Check the timestamps." And I handed it to her father. The look on his face, it was like someone had just told him the sky wasn't real. That's when it all fell apart. Emily let out this horrible choking sound. Not crying exactly, more like gasping, like her brain couldn't catch up with what was happening. She turned to me, eyes wild. "You're doing this here? In front of everyone?" And I said, flatly, "You did it first. I'm just giving it subtitles." Her mom rushed over, arms out, trying to wrap Emily in a hug, but Emily pushed her off. Her best friend Paige looked like she'd been shot. She kept looking between me and Emily, visibly horrified, one hand covering her mouth. Her sister, Alyssa, still filming. In fact, a bunch of people were. Phones were everywhere. Some guests had already started walking toward the gate. Awkward, fast-walking, "I don't want to be involved" exits. Others stood frozen in place like they were watching a slow-motion car crash. I turned back to Emily one last time, and I said, "I would have forgiven almost anything. I could have forgiven you needing space. I could have forgiven you having doubts. But I can't forgive this. Not when you made me look like a fool. Not when you played me while you were carrying what might not even be my daughter." And that was the final nail. She screamed. Not words, just a broken, raw sound that sounded like pain and guilt and rage all tangled together. She dropped to her knees, sobbing. And I walked away from the applause, the balloons, the cake, the perfectly staged decorations. I walked away from the lie. I stayed at my brother's place that night. I turned off my phone, turned off everything. I didn't want to know what people were saying. I didn't care who was defending who. I didn't want to hear Emily's apologies or her justifications or whatever speech she had prepared in her head. I wanted silence. I wanted to breathe. The next morning, I turned on my phone. 40 missed calls. Dozens of texts. Most from Emily. A few from her mom. A handful from mutual friends asking if I was okay. Paige sent me a long message apologizing, saying she had no idea and that she felt physically sick for having supported her all that time. Alyssa, her sister, sent me one line, "She deserves everything that's coming." 2 days later, Emily showed up at my brother's place. She was a mess. No makeup. Hoodie. I swollen from crying. She looked nothing like the woman who had stood next to me at that party. She begged me to talk. Said she'd do anything. Said she was scared. Said the baby was mine. She was sure of it. But she was willing to do a paternity test if that's what I needed. I told her to sit. I didn't yell. I just asked one question. "Why?" She cried harder. "I don't know," she said. "It started when we were struggling to get pregnant. I felt alone. I felt ugly. Liam paid attention to me and I was stupid. And once it started, I didn't know how to stop." She said she never meant for it to get serious. She said she never stopped loving me. She said it was just physical. But I reminded her it wasn't. I saw the texts. I saw the emotional intimacy. The declarations of, "I feel more alive with you," and "He doesn't understand me." She didn't cheat once. She built an entire secret life. And she wanted forgiveness? I told her I'd think about the paternity test. But as for us, there was no us. Not anymore. I can't unsee what I saw. I can't unfeel the way it felt to stand beside her while she smiled and kissed me like everything was fine, knowing damn well what she'd done. So I filed for divorce. We're figuring out custody. And I told her, I'll be there for our daughter, but not for her. It's been a few weeks. I'm living in a new apartment. It's small, but it's quiet. I have a bassinet by the window. I read baby books at night. I talk to her through Emily's belly on weekends. I sing songs I haven't sung since I was a kid. I'm trying. It's messy, and it hurts, but I'm free. And when my daughter asks one day why her parents didn't stay together, I'll tell her the truth. That I loved her mother deeply, that I tried, but some things you just can't come back from. And that no matter what, she was the only because I'll tell you something, I would rather be the villain in someone's lie than the fool in someone's fairy tale. And if that makes me vindictive, fine. But I didn't expose her to hurt her. I exposed her to protect myself. To protect my daughter from growing up thinking love means betrayal wrapped in pink streamers and cake frosting. I did it so I could sleep at night knowing I didn't stay silent. I did it because I finally realized that the only thing worse than losing someone is losing yourself trying to keep them. It was exactly 7 days after the party. I went back to the house, the one we used to share, to start packing up the last of my things. Most of it was baby stuff. A crib we picked out together. Onesies, little pink booties, books I'd already started reading aloud, thinking maybe my daughter would recognize my voice when she entered the world. I sat there on the nursery floor, surrounded by the wreckage of a future I thought was real. I don't even know how long I was sitting like that, just staring at a baby blanket with little ducks on it, when the thought hit me. Not a whisper, not a question, a scream in my chest. What if the baby isn't mine? I had asked it before in the beginning, when I first found the messages between her and Liam. But when we did the initial paternity test, it came back that I was the father. I believed it, but now, after the party, after the lies, after seeing how deep the rabbit hole really went, something didn't sit right, so I made a call. I spoke with my lawyer and explained everything, that I needed absolute certainty, that I couldn't move forward, emotionally, legally, or spiritually, without knowing the truth. Not a half-truth, not a probably, not a she swears on her life. The truth. We arranged a non-invasive prenatal paternity test through a private lab. It wasn't cheap, but peace of mind rarely is. They took a blood sample from Emily and a DNA sample from me. She agreed reluctantly, but she agreed. Maybe part of her still believed she could salvage something between us. Maybe she knew. Maybe she didn't. I don't know. All I know is what came in that envelope 2 weeks later. 0% probability of paternity. That's what it said. No room for debate. No margin for error. The baby, the one I had talked to through a wall of skin and amniotic fluid, the one I had dreamed about for months, was not mine. Not biologically. Not legally. Not anything. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't even move for a full 5 minutes. Felt like the floor dropped out from under me and I just kept falling. But there was no bottom. Just air. Just nothing. I wasn't even angry anymore. I was numb. Not because I didn't care, but because I had cared so much. Too much. I filed the next day. No more delays. No more, maybe we can work something out. No more texts from Emily begging me to talk. It was over. Officially. We're done. My lawyer filed paperwork that would ensure I had no legal ties to the child. No custody, no financial obligations, nothing. Felt cruel. Cold. But it was necessary. I had to let go of a life that was never mine to begin with. I live in a small apartment now. It's quiet. Sometimes too quiet. The walls are white. The fridge is mostly empty. My mornings are silent except for the sound of my own breathing. But it's mine. No lies here. No flipped over phones or fake meetings or gaslighting glances. Just truth. And therapy. And distance. Therapy has helped more than I expected. Not because it fixes the pain, but because it honors it. Gives it a place to sit. A name. A shape. It reminds me that I'm not crazy. That being betrayed doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. I've started jogging again. Cooking for one. reading books I never had time for, relearning what it means to be alone, and okay with it. But still, there are nights. It's always around 2 a.m. when the doubt creeps in, when the silence of the apartment feels louder than any fight we ever had. When I scroll Reddit like I'm doing right now, rereading my own story, asking myself questions I can't answer. AITA, did I go too far? Was it too public? Too brutal? Did I ruin something sacred? Or did I just refuse to let a lie fester in silence? Because here's the thing, I didn't do it for revenge. I didn't do it to hurt her. I did it because I had to. Because sometimes the only way to cut out the rot is to expose it to the air. Let it burn in the sunlight until there's nothing left but the truth. So no, I don't regret what I did. Not the video, not the speech, not the truth. Because standing up for yourself, even when it costs you everything, isn't cruelty. It's survival. To anyone listening or watching who's been through betrayal, you are not weak. You are not worthless. You are not what they made you feel like. You deserve honesty. You deserve love without conditions. And if standing up for yourself means burning down the fantasy of a perfect life, then let it burn. Because what rises from the ashes might just be the real you. The one who knows better. The one who demands better. The one who no longer settles for almosts and half-truths and pastel-colored lies. So if you've been in my shoes, or are in them now, you're not alone. I see you. We all do.